In this lesson, I will show you how to handle files in Blazor. I deliberately skipped this topic in the module where we discussed forms because proper file handling requires the application's backend. Here, we will save files in such a way that the file name will be stored in the database, for example, added to a task. Additionally, we need to retrieve the image from the form and save it on the server, which we will do through a web API. So, step by step, let's first go to the task, add Blazor component. Here we have the form, and we fill in all the data and our add task command model. You can notice that we have a field called image URL where we will save the file name in the database. Besides that, as I mentioned, we need to upload the image to our server. Now, on the form, under the deadline, we will add a new control called input file. So here, everything stays as it was, meaning we have the main div, then we have the label, the image, and here we have the input file. And here we remove the value binding, but we will bind to the onChange event. So let's add the load files method here, and we can see the input argument file change event args. So in the C# code, we will define such a method, also private, async, task, load files, and the parameter I mentioned, input file change event args. Great. So we are connected to this method, and notice that we no longer have any errors here. Additionally, we can add information about the files we will accept here, such as img, cho, png, img, jpeg, and img, jpg. So we will only accept these file formats here, png, jpeg, and jpg. Next, it is also good practice to display the selected image on the form, so we will add an auxiliary field, private, string, image full URL, and now in the view, we will check if there is any value here, meaning string is null or white space, image full URL. So if this field has any value, we will want to display the image on the form. In this way, we can set a fixed width here so that it doesn't take up the entire page and set the top margin to 3. Great. So let's move on to implementing the logic in the load files method. First, we want to save the selected file, the one that was actually chosen, in a variable, and we can access it based on this parameter, eFile, meaning we get the file that was actually selected from this parameter. We can also check here if a file was actually selected, and if not, we want to exit this method. Next, we'll call our backend, the task repo upload image method. So we need to add this method in the iTask HTTP repository task upload image, and here we have the parameter iBrowser file, which is the selected file we have here. It has the type iBrowser file, so we'll pass this file here. Let's move to the task HTTP repository. Let's add the missing method from the interface, and here we want to send this file to the web API. So var content equals new multipart form data content, then content.add, and here we pass a new stream, so stream, new stream content, file, we read this stream, so open read stream, file size, image, and the file name, so file name. This is how we call this method from the web API, client, post, async, tasks, via upload, image, and we pass the content that we prepared earlier, which is this multipart form data content. This is how the call looks in the task HTTP repository. Great. Now let's see how this logic looks in our controller. In the task controller, we have an action that is available as HTTP post upload image, which is what we call. Here, notice that we retrieve the file from the request form files and only take the first file. Of course, if you allow the submission of multiple files, you need to retrieve information about all those files. We check if any file has been attached. If no file is attached, we return a bad request. However, if a file is attached, we call the upload image command and pass the file as an argument. So this is the command. If this command is invoked, the logic from the handler, which is the upload image command handler, is actually executed. Here we have our file service and the upload method, meaning the logic from the infrastructure layer, specifically from the file service, is executed. First, we retrieve the path where we want to save the file, which is www.root content file in the web API. If this folder does not exist, it will be created. Then, if a file is indeed provided, it will be saved in this location. Great. Let's return to our task add Blazor component, where we will call the upload image method and pass the selected file as a parameter to this method. And that's basically everything. But we also want to display the image correctly on the form, therefore we need to fill in the image full URL field. And now notice that this photo will be saved in a different project. It will be saved in the web API project, which is our server where files are stored. Therefore, we need to access the web API from this place, from our component. So we need the URL address of our web API. We have this URL address saved in the app settings JSON file, so we need to access the configuration file, and we can do this easily by injecting iConfiguration in this way, And now we can retrieve the data from the app settings JSON file. So we pass this key to the configuration, which is API configuration colon base address, and here we will want to append the folder that will be created, which is www root through content through files. So we will use string interpolation here. So first we have the base address of the web API, we append content, files, and the file name, which is selected file.name. Great. So once again, here we have the URL address of our web API, and to access the www root folder, we need to use this URL address and then append the path where our files are located, which is content, files, and the file name. So here in this field, we have the full address to our photo. So, in the same way, we can save this full path to our model. Here, you can either save the full path or just the name of the photo, depending on your application's concept. Often, it would be enough to save just the file name, and then, if you were to display these photos, you would just append something like that. So, there's complete freedom here. It doesn't matter what we enter. Okay, we can now verify if our code works correctly. Oh, and one more important thing. In the web API, we need to add this www folder, root, and now we can run our application. So I'm running the application, and let's verify if everything works correctly now. I'm going to the Add New Task tab, and notice that a new control, photo, has indeed been added here, and we have the option to select a file. I click Choose File, and select a photo from my local computer. And notice that indeed this photo has been displayed correctly here. Here we have the path to this photo, and if I now enter a title, description, and click Save Data, you will see that everything has been saved correctly. We can check if the photo has actually been added to our server, and as you can see in the Web API project, in the www root content files folder, there is a new file, and indeed our photo, which we just added from the Blazor application, is available here. So this is how file handling looks in Blazor, and we would need to add this logic to the task editing as well to display the photo there. So that's it for file handling. Now, I invite you to the next lesson.